Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to be breaking a rule. We're going to be talking about Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk and why you should read it if you haven't already. This is one of my favorite books of all time. It's also one of my favorite films of all time, so we'll talk about that later too. This book was originally published in 1996. This copy that I have here runs approximately 218 pages long, so you can read it in a weekend. And yeah, it's an absolute maddening book. I love it for so many reasons that I'll touch on later in this video, but as always, I'll give you guys a brief summary of what the book is actually about, spoiler-free, of course, because this is a why you should read video. I'll also give you guys a couple films that I would recommend. Obviously, one of them will be pretty obvious, the direct adaptation, but a couple other films that I think are similar in tone. I'll give you guys some additional literature that I would branch off to after reading Fight Club, and I'll give you guys some of my favorite quotes too at the very end, and we'll talk about them. So before we get into all of that, though, I want to give you guys a couple words on the author himself. Chuck Palahniuk was born in Pasco, Washington in 1962 and raised in a working-class trailer home in Burbank, Washington. A journalism graduate from University of Oregon, Palahniuk worked as a diesel mechanic and hospice volunteer before turning to fiction. His style, raw, unapologetic, and surgically subversive, emerged from his blue-collar grit and existential trauma. Deeply influenced by postmodernism, nihilism, and transgressive literature, he writes about the alienated, the unhinged, and the culturally numb. Fight Club, his breakout novel, established him as a prophet of male disenchantment and late 20th century disillusionment. His prose rejects literary polish in favor of something brutal, rhythmic, and undeniably alive. The book remains his most iconic achievement, a lightning bolt that split through the sterile air of contemporary fiction and became a mirror held up to a decaying modern psyche. Palahniuk's legacy is that of a provocateur, a voice who exposed the unspeakable void at the center of consumer culture with terrifying clarity. So yeah, hopefully that gives you guys a little bit more background information on the author himself. Chuck Palahniuk has become one of my favorite writers of all time, especially when it comes to modern writers. He's so gritty, he doesn't pull any punches at all, and I just love the way that he attacks things with a veracity that it's very, very rare to find from writers. He's one of those rare breeds where he, like I said, he doesn't pull any punches at all. He'll pull all the tools out, all the stops. He doesn't care if he makes you feel uncomfortable. In fact, that's actually his goal when he's writing. He wants you to feel uneasy, and I just enjoy his writing so much. So I'll throw up a list of all of Chuck Palahniuk's works right now up on screen. I've read quite a few of them, but not all of them yet. But if you guys want to dive deeper into his writing, I would highly recommend checking out the rest of his novels. All of his novels are fantastic. They make you feel just disgusting and uneasy and uncomfortable, and I love the way that this man writes. So I'm going to give you guys now a brief summary of what Fight Club itself is actually about. In Fight Club, an insomniac white-collar worker trapped in the soul-crushing routines of modern consumerism finds himself spiraling into existential despair. Haunted by a life that feels manufactured and hollow, he crosses paths with the magnetic and anarchic Tyler Durden, a soap maker with a messianic worldview and zero regard for societal norms. Together, they create an underground fight club where men reclaim lost masculinity through bare-knuckle brutality, pain, and primal connection. But what begins as a secret rebellion against corporate control evolves into something far more dangerous, something uncontainable. With urgent prose and a voice that bleeds discontent, Palahniuk weaves a gripping, chaotic tapestry of psychological unrest, fractured identity, and radical freedom. This is not merely a story. It is a shot of adrenaline to the soul, a dare to dismantle the illusions that define us. So yeah, hopefully that gives you guys a better sense of what the story is actually about. Fight Club is one of those stories where it's best to go in blind. If you clicked on this video and for some reason you haven't read the novel or seen the film, I am incredibly envious of you. I think if there's one film that I would put at the very top of my list of films that I wish I could go back and rewatch for the first time, I think Fight Club would be at the very, very top of that list, because Once you see it for the first time, you can't relive that twist again. So go into this blind. Don't search up any spoilers or anything like that, and I won't give you guys any today. But go into this blind. That's the best way to experience it. It's an absolutely phenomenal twist at the end. I've seen so many analysis videos on Fight Club. It's one of those films where I've watched pretty much every analysis video there is on YouTube. I will provide my own eventually someday, and we'll take an hour or two and walk through the film scene by scene and break things apart like I like to do on this channel. But every single analysis video I see on Fight Club is different, which is awesome. There are so many different things to find in this film. I find that each time that I watch it or each time that I read the book, it evolves and I learn something new from it and becomes something completely different. So works of fiction like that are truly, truly special. That's why Fight Club is one of my favorite films of all time, and that's why this is one of my favorite books of all time as well. It's also a story that deeply affects me because I'm a man, and it's not that women can't enjoy Fight Club, but I think this speaks directly to the soul of men. It talks a lot about repressed masculinity, repressing your shadow, repressing your violence, and what happens when that does burst out, and when it bursts out in uncontrollable and chaotic ways, like the Fight Club that they create, right? So there's so many things to talk about with this book. I'm not doing a full analysis video today. That will come at some point in the future, and we will take apart all the themes and all the psychological depth that is within this masterwork of a book. So I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'm going to move on to some of the film recommendations now. So as far as film recommendations go, obviously the first one is the most obvious, 1999's Fight Club by David Fincher. It's one of the greatest films of all time. It's one of my personal favorite films of all time. Like I mentioned earlier, I will do a full film analysis video for you guys at some point, and we'll walk through it scene by scene and take everything apart because I love this film so, so deeply. And like I said before as well, if you haven't seen Fight Club and it's your first time watching it, I am so, so envious of you. Make sure you sit down, you don't have any distractions, don't be going on your phone or whatnot. It's definitely a film that you want to pay attention to because when that ending hits, it's a whirlwind. It punches you in the gut pretty hard, and you'll be thinking about it for a long time. So I highly, highly, highly recommend Fincher's Fight Club. Like I said, it's one of the greatest films of all time. The other 4 films that I'm going to mention today all deal with, repressed masculinity. They all deal with men kind of delving into their own shadow, delving into the abyss, and finding the chaos and violence that's within them. The first of which is a classic. It's from 1976, directed by Martin Scorsese. It's, of course, Taxi Driver. This film was also a big inspiration to Chuck while he was writing this book, so I would highly recommend checking out Taxi Driver if you haven't seen that film already. The next one is from a couple years earlier. It's one of my favorite films of all time as well. It's Stanley Kubrick's from 1971, A Clockwork Orange. Deals with a lot of similar themes, and also a very, very chaotic book. I will do a Why You Should Read video on A Clockwork Orange very, very shortly. And the fourth film that I want to mention today is 2019's Joker. It takes a lot from Fight Club. There are a lot of Fight Club references all throughout Joker, and if you haven't seen the film for a couple years, I would go back and rewatch it because you might pick up on them on the second watch through. But Joker from 2019 is another fantastic film. And the last one that I'll mention today, the fifth film, is from 2001. And it's not as dark, but it is a dark film. It's dark in a different way. It's Donnie Darko. It's another film that kind of deals with not so much the repressed masculinity, but more so like the repressed boyhood maybe. Touches more on the story of a young man and his chaotic feelings that are brewing inside of him. So all 5 of those films I feel like deal with identity and masculinity and what it means to be a man, what it means to be a boy and whatnot. They're all such deep films. I will have full film analysis videos on all 5 of those films at some point on this channel because I love all 5 of those films, so I highly recommend all of them. And I will mention for you guys another book as well. So the book that I'll recommend for you guys was also turned into one of my favorite films of all time with a fantastic acting performance by Christian Bale. Maybe you guys can guess it. It's, of course, American Psycho, another book that deals with a lot of similar themes that Fight Club deals with. So if you've read Fight Club and you want to move on to something else afterwards and you haven't read American Psycho, I highly, highly recommend reading this book. And like I said, watching the film as well. So I guess I gave you guys 6 film recommendations for today, but that's good because I don't really have a documentary or anything like that to suggest for you guys. So we'll wrap up today with my 3 favorite quotes from the book, and I guess from the movie as well. But this first quote here is my absolute favorite quote from the entire book. It's only after we lose everything that we're free to do anything. So this quote is absolutely beautiful. I think about it a lot. I think it's absolutely true that when you're living your life, if you truly want to go out there and do anything and have everything available to you, sometimes you have to be free from everything. I was thinking about this the other day because I'm always thinking of like, what makes people successful? What makes all successful people the same? And I think if there's one thing that you could describe all successful people with, no matter what their domain, is the fact that they're unhinged. I think that's true because I think that there are a lot of very, very successful people that are crazy. They're truly unhinged people. And I think you have to be a little bit crazy to be hyper successful. But I think you can also look at the phrase unhinged in another way, because there are people that are very successful, but they're very stable, down to earth, normal people. But they are still unhinged if they're hyper successful, because they don't tie themselves down to pointless hobbies or menial work. Like that, they're always trying to unhinge themselves from society and from the rules. They're trying to pursue something great, right? That's what makes somebody great, is they're kind of unhinged from the rest of society. So I also think that this quote relates a lot to one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Carl Jung, which is, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." I also think about that quote quite a bit, and I think it's very, very similar to the quote that Chuck Palahniuk was putting out there. I think if you really want to get anywhere in life, if you want to be a strong, tough individual, if you want your branches to reach up to the heavens, you need to be grounded, and you kind of got to go through some stuff. You got to confront your shadow. You have to go through hell. You have to push through suffering. I really don't think anybody in this world that's formidable or strong in any way has like not gone through horrible things. In my experience, every single person I've ever met that's tough, every single person that I've ever met that has done anything, that's done anything hard, has been through hardship. So I think that's what Chuck Palahniuk is kind of getting at here with, you can only pursue anything once you've kind of lost everything. You kind of have to go through that hardship first, and then the true freedom opens up to you to pursue all the things that are out there in the world. So phenomenal quote. I think about it quite a bit, but I'll move on to the next one. "You are not your job. You're not how much money you have in the bank. You are not the car you drive." Another fantastic quote that is an absolutely scathing critique of the consumerist culture that we have here, especially in the West. And I think Chuck's hitting the nail right on the head there. You're not what you own. I am not these books that are behind me, even though my head's filled with them. I'm not the laptop that's in front of me or the camera that's filming me. I'm not these things. I'm not my possessions. All of these things could just blow up and go up in smoke tomorrow, and I would still be here. I would still have to live. I would still have to find a way to make money and get food and stuff, right? These things, these attachments, we think of them as almost our identity, and we present them to the world almost as our identity, right? When I have people over, I like to talk about my books and show them off and stuff, but I know that this isn't me. And it's almost a false representation of myself too, because I don't remember everything that I've read. I'm only a fraction of all of these books. So I think that somewhat helps explain what he was getting at with this quote here, is that, a lot of people, they identify with their possessions, and they think of them as themselves. Like, the things that I own are me. This is my expression of me. But those things, like Fight Club says, this is literally what happens in the story. It's not too much of a spoiler because it happens right away. But all of your possessions can go up in smoke tomorrow. And then what are you truly left with? So you got to think about that, when you go to bed tonight. You really got to think, like, if everything blew up tomorrow, who am I? Who am I really? So that's another one of my favorite quotes. We'll move on to the third one now. "The things you own end up owning you." So another great quote that kind of plays off of that last one there, right? When you get too obsessed with your possessions, when you let them become more than just your identity, they end up owning and controlling you. And you're constantly thinking about, okay, what piece of furniture do I need to upgrade next month? Okay, what books do I want to add to my shelf next month? And they start to own you. They start to possess you. And I feel this I feel this in my own life because, I would like to move around and go on vacation and stuff like that. But, I think about my books and I'm like, well, I don't want to leave these alone. What if somebody comes and steals them? Or if I move to another place where I don't have as much space, like, can I bring my books with me? So they end up tying me down a little bit. And I love having my library, don't get me wrong. But my possessions tie me down, and I feel this. I feel this with a lot of things that I own. Like, I'm constantly thinking about, what do I need to upgrade? What do I need to work on? Do I need to get new parts for this thing? They start to possess you. And it's almost better to own less things for that reason, because then you have less strings pulling at you, right? You're more of a free person than a marionette that's being pulled by all of your possessions. So I think about that a lot too. I think about, should I scale down? Should I go with a minimalist mindset and just give all my possessions away? I can't do that completely because these books are my livelihood as well. I make videos with these books and I love sharing them with you guys, and I love reading. So I'm not going to sell my library, but I do try to scale things down where I can. And, maybe don't buy the new PlayStation 5. Maybe I don't need that, stuff like that. But it's something to think about. Really, really think about that quote. The things that you own end up owning you. You can think about that for the rest of your life. And that's one of the greatest messages that I've gotten from the story of Fight Club. And it's very, very powerful. So those are my 3 favorite quotes from the book. There are so many throughout it, and I kind of left out some of the more funny quotes. This is a very, very humorous book also, by the way. And I would almost say that the book is actually funnier than the movie. So if you're a big, big Fight Club movie fan and you haven't read the book, I really, really recommend reading it. There are also a couple things in the book that aren't in the movie. Just a couple things. They're very, very short scenes. They don't mean too much, but they add a little bit of character. They add a little bit of depth to the story. So if you really want the full experience of the Fight Club story, make sure you read the novel. I believe you guys can find an audiobook for free on YouTube narrating this. If you guys are more audio listeners, you guys listen to your books rather than read them. I think you can find one on YouTube. But yeah, definitely go out, read this, come back to this video if you guys want, and let me know what you guys thought about the book. If you've already read Fight Club and it's one of your favorite novels, let me know down below in the comments. What did you guys get out of it? What is your favorite quote from it? Do you have a theme that really grabs you or something like that? Just don't spoil anything for people who might be flipping through the comments. But yeah, I love discussing books with you guys down below. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, it means the absolute world to me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.